Welcome. This video is to highlight the new and improved features in PowerStation 2015. Let's start with some of the simple ones. Let's open up a file. You'll notice the file open now uses the latest and greatest dialog that's available on your particular version of Windows. Each version of Windows gave more capabilities to this. Let's pull this in. There is a new file import command for importing drawing files. We now have a new printer settings menu where you can select a printer and a PDF printer, so you don't have to keep reselecting them every time you run the software. They're already in there and configured for you, which you'll see file print to PDF is one of the new commands inside there. One of the biggest changes is in the job processing, the layout and the whole functionality of it. If we start the job processing, you see now it's always pinned to the left-hand side of the screen with the machining bar put right next to it. You can come in here, pick out existing machining that you want to change in some way. Here I'll pick on this. Notice as soon as I selected that one, it highlighted the pocket that we're working on. If you double click on it, we pull up the dialog for that pocketing command. What you'll notice is all of the dialogues now are much larger, are much more logically laid out, and contain graphic examples showing basically what that particular command does, and many times it shows some of the parameters that are involved with it. One of the often requested features has been the ability to use the escape key instead of clicking with the menu. Suppose we started this command here, like enter the cursor location, decide you don't want to finish the command. In the past you had to click the right mouse button and select escape from the menu. Now you can simply press the escape key. You can still use the right button in the menu if you're more comfortable with that. You'll notice new machining menu icons throughout the entire system. In fact, you'll see new icons all over the place. Let's go to geometry. We can see there's all new icons here. There is now also what's called the geometry bar. You can set up this toolbar just as you can set up the machining toolbar with your favorite geometry commands. In this case, we mimic just the exact menus that are up top, but you can simply replace these with, my geometry, you might call it, and just have the 20 or so geometry commands that you like to use frequently. Changes to the modify menu. There's a nice little change to the modify trim commands. There's a command now called flip an arc or line, which simply creates the opposite of whatever you have. It flips it over, back and forth. Okay. All of the main modify commands, move, copy, scale, rotate, now all have this same large enhanced dialogues. You can say, let's say you want to scale all of this. I can select all of the entities, and you see the information scale. There's some quick selections for converting metric to inch and back and forth, and a graphic example of what you're going to do. One of the neat new commands is a modify. Let me take it from the geometry bar here just to show that. Modify drag command, where you can say take all of the entities, done, and this is for cursor placement or placement by eye. This is not a way to precisely move it somewhere. This is strictly a visual. You can just take whatever you want, say I want it there now. It's a nice way of moving perhaps artwork or things around to get them in a nice position for machining. Another new feature is what we call Power Snap. Power Snap takes your cursor and turns it into a smart cursor that when moved over an element, a line, a point, an arc, it will automatically jump or snap to precise points, endpoints, center points, tangents, things like this. Let's do a quick demonstration. So here, draw a line by cursor. Give me the tangent, no, give me the end of this guy and bring me up to the tangent point on there. Let's do the same thing, just say we can say the center of this arc to the center of this arc. Again, just showing some of the different options you can do. Let's take an end point. Let's do the end of this to the end of this spline here. And the same thing over here. We'll do the end of that spline to the end of that line. Let's try some more. We can say, give me the midpoint of this, and do I want to go perpendicular? The end, the middle point, the end point. Let's go perpendicular to this one. And just to close it up, let's take and say we'll take that end point and bring it over to the tangent on this guy. Okay. Power Snap can be turned on or off anytime from the toolbar up here. And it's available during all of the geometry or drafting commands where you would normally specify a simple cursor position. It turns it into an accurate automatic cursor position. Drafting menu changes. There are a lot of nice little improvements in the drafting. There's a new dimensioning type called a radial, where you can take an arc, and what it's actually giving me there is the radial distance around the arc rather than the angle. There's also a whole series of new arrowhead styles, where in the past we simply had one. Now we have the old basic arrow, curved, slash, circle, or a solid arrow. The drafting geometric tolerancing has been completely rewritten. You can now, with a single dialog, set up all of the tolerances and datums that you need, and in one shot insert them into the program. Surface finish. There's now a new drafting command for adding surface finish symbols to it. Here's an example of what each one of the symbols means and where it goes. And a simple one, text box. Many times you need a simple box drawn around a piece of text. You just select the text and it draws the box. More general changes to the machining process. Going back to the job processing tree here, which again is displayed on the left, you can now build right into that job processing a description of the stock that you're using. Here's the stock size. You can go to the job information, and right in the job information you can pre-select your machine and the name of your code file. My code file. Okay, those will be stored with the drive with the job also. That way, next time you go to load the job in and you maybe have to reprocess it or generate a new program, the machine name, the NC code file will already be filled in for you. Let's go to the Operations menu. In the Operations menu, you'll notice it's wide and laid out a little different, but basically the same information as in the past. Two things that are worth mentioning. Now when you do an operation, when you print the operation, if you've defined a tool shape to have a tool image, that is actually printed out with the operation. In this case, this was a turning operation and a grooving tool, I should say. So there's a little more information on there. The other one that's kind of neat in here is something we call the operation history. This guy here basically keeps track of every tool that you've used by description. If you enter in the same description, again, it'll update it and save that one in the file. It maintains a master file of all of the operations that you've used, so you can quickly just go back and grab one if you need it. There's a milling job here I don't know, let's find ourselves a little end mill. We need an end mill for something. Adds itself right to the end of the list down here. Okay, very handy for storing commonly used tools and pulling them back in again. Okay, let's take and look at a chain cut. Here was a chain cut in this job. A few new things in the chain cutting menu. Now you'll notice, again, large menu, better layout than before, graphical examples on the side. You can also now, for people with EDMs or lasers or any type of burning type cutting operation, if you define the machine as an EDM or a punch or a laser, you can now add tab stops in there. One of the other nice new things is job processing. Copy all the operations. You can select an operation like this, hit copy, and say, where do you want it? I want to copy it down to operation number 15. Everything I did in this operation has now been copied down to the next operation. That way, if you have a long series of holes or several different cuts that you made, you don't have to redo them all again to redo them with the new tool. New milling features. Both the circular pocketing and the general pocketing have had some significant improvements and additions. If we look here at the circular pocketing, you can now pocket up to 32 different holes in a single cycle. And there are many new toolpath options in the cycle, including helical roughing and helical finishing options. Let's just take a quick look at one of those. Zoom in on it a little bit and see what it looks like. In the machining pocketing command, there are new spiral toolpath options. You can see here we can select the spiraling direction and apply tolerances and allowances to what we pick. These can include, as you see here, include any number of islands. The toolpath will automatically find everywhere it fits and work its way around the islands. The lathe turning updates. For the sake of simplicity, all of the lathe related cycles have all been brought down into a single menu. New additions to this menu would be the bar pulling command, which I'll just pick any old operation just to show you what it looks like. Just simply allows you to specify the parameters of the bar pull. It will do a basic bar pull by default, but you can also create a macro for a custom one. Back to machining, lathe cycles. The lathe drilling command simply has a tapping option added to it. Lathe facing command is basically what it was before, as are roughing and lathe threading. Except lathe threading does have new options to make left-handed threads and to use can cycles in a better way than it always did. The biggest changes are probably in the grooving and part off command. Just to show you some of the options that you have now, you can do grooving straight on the diameter or on the face. This is basically what we had in the past. The new versions allow you to do contour grooving, take a freeform shape and either rough it or finish it out on the diameter here or on the face. And finally, there's a parting off cycle for parting off. These are some pretty new and significant improvements. Let's just take a look in at the toolpath here, see what we can get out of it. If we run single block on the toolpath, you can see some of the, here's a simple using a grooving tool to come down and rough. Finish that tool, and that was a finish pass. I kind of jumped ahead of me there, but I think we get the principle. You have both roughing and finishing with that turning tool now on the OD, the ID, or the face. And we have our changes to the display menu. You'll notice the axis is now drawn in a wider pen, 3 different colors, just a nicer looking axis is all it really is. And take and draw a basic little shape. Let's just do one of our simple flange commands here. This sounds good. I'm going to leave it all the defaults and put it right on the origin. Okay. As in the past, the scroll wheel allows you to scroll in and out as far as zooming. You can also now, if you go to the 3D view, if you press the left mouse button and hold it, you can freely rotate the view to wherever you want it to be. Okay. For compatibility with other Windows programs, pressing the F5 key will refresh the display. And that brings us to the end of this video. We hope it's been helpful. It doesn't cover every single aspect of all of the new features. There is a sheet mentioned at the beginning of this video which you can download from our website, which goes a bit more into detail about each of them. But please, at any time, if you have any questions about any new features or changes, don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.